joining, and excited to get going here. So I run a marketing team at LinkedIn, marketing for LinkedIn Marketing Solutions. That's the business line that's hosting this webcast. That's the business line I work in. And what I'm going to do today is share some context about the evolution in the consumer behavior that we're seeing as a result of trends in digital and how that affects marketers. And then really focus, like the title suggests, on how to be successful with marketing on LinkedIn. I'm going to be sharing some examples from customers that have succeeded, both large enterprise customers and smaller and medium-sized customers as well. So covering a spectrum there, and also covering two primary objectives that marketers have. So I'll share examples from marketers that had more of a brand building objective, and I'll share examples from marketers that had a demand generation, lead gen objective. And then I'll also be sharing how our team, my marketing team in particular, has been approaching this and addressing this consumer evolution using best practices on LinkedIn. So a little bit of a insider's peek into how our team is doing the marketing nowadays. So starting with the consumer evolution, this comes as a surprise to no one, but obviously this challenge is front and center, even more so in 2015 than it was before. And that's the fact that the buyer's behavior has been changed dramatically and changed really permanently as a result of all the digital innovation. And if you think about it now, everyone has a really powerful computer in their pocket. So they can access information anytime, any place, anywhere, and it's really on their terms as consumers when they want to consume and how they want to consume. And that creates big challenges for marketers, obviously, because it's hard to stay top of mind when there's so much opportunity for consumers to do information gathering. And it's hard to build your brand in a world where there's a constant bombardment of information from your competitors and from sources that you're not even aware of today that people can access anytime. And particularly driven by the increasing utilization of mobile phones. And all of these trends create the dynamic where the latest research from Forrester shows the buying cycle is almost 90% complete on average before a buyer reaches out to talk directly to a brand. And this is a trend that's seen, the research is referring to a trend that's seen in B2B, but the same dynamic applies for a B2C purchase as well. So because consumers are more empowered than ever, because they have this really powerful computer in their pocket, they can do tons of research themselves on their own terms before they reach out directly to a brand to have a conversation. And this means that if you hope to be one of the brands they're reaching out to in the last 10% of the buying cycle, you need to be present in the first 90%. But you have to be present where the consumers are spending their time, where they're investing their time. And to do that, you need to be on mobile and you need to be on social. And so we see this dynamic where mobile is taking over in our own data. So this chart you're looking at here is a chart mapping the use of the three different platforms over the day. So you have the desktop in red, or a laptop, same thing, that's the red bar. Then you have a smartphone or a mobile phone in purple, and then a tablet in blue. And so again, this is LinkedIn data, this is our own platform data, how our members are engaging with our platform, the device that they're using. And so you see throughout the day, purple is a steady bar. It rises in the morning, and then it's constant throughout. And so again, that's the mobile phone. And then there's a big spike in the evening with the tablet. And so people are winding down their day, and they're often on the couch, maybe watching TV and using their tablet at the same time. So you add those two together, tablet and mobile phone, and that gives you the the full picture on exactly how prominent mobile is in the lives of consumers. And again, that creates the always-on challenge for brands, where consumer is more empowered than ever, and this data from our platform really proves that. So how are you supposed to be successful in the face of these dynamics? Well, we think it boils down to 3 new keys to success. You need to be accurate, you need to be helpful, and you need to be everywhere. And I'll explain those. So to be accurate, you need to have confidence that you're targeting the right people and you're targeting them in the places where they are going to spend their time. And you're targeting them with the certainty that they are who they say they are. You need to be helpful and help them solve a problem rather than just pitching them with your value proposition. So whether it's a B2C buyer or someone who's in the mindset as a B2B buyer, you need to help them and show how you can help them achieve whatever their goal is. And if you're not being helpful, then you're really just selling to them. And we know now that consumers are even more sensitive to the pure sales pitch than they've ever been. And that's why content marketing has become so important in the toolkit for marketers, because it's a much better mechanism for being helpful, sharing content and adding value that way. And then being everywhere. It's not just about being everywhere geographically. It's about being in every moment where the consumer is engaged and on every platform that they want to engage on. So being on the desktop, being on their phone, and being on the tablet. So these are the 3 new keys to success in 2015 at a high level. And now I'm going to go deeper into how to be successful with LinkedIn going forward. So I said at the outset I was going to cover sort of 2 angles here. Cover best practices for building your brand if you're a brand marketer, and then I'm also going to cover best practices for driving leads if you're a direct response or a demand gen marketer. So I'm going to start with the brand side, and there's 3 best practices here, and I'll talk about each of them in turn with examples. So first, you need to find your audience, and on LinkedIn you can do this using a vast array of targeting parameters. And so I've just listed a few here, and there are a lot more, and I'll share my favorite targeting case with you in just a minute. So you have to find your audience and be accurate, be confident that you're reaching the people that you're intending to reach. And on LinkedIn, we have the targeting tools that enable you to do that. Second step is shaping perception. So you need to build your brand by first building awareness, but then even more importantly, you need to start shaping the perception so that you're positioning your brand the way you want it to be positioned. And we have the tools that enable you to shape perception. Display ads, content ads, updates, both organic company updates and then paid sponsored updates. So I'm going to go deeper into the shape perception piece in a minute. And then finally, after you're shaping perception over the course of a period of time, what you're really doing is establishing trust. And so this means you can't just dip in and out with a campaign every now and again. You need to have a constant stream of content available because of that 90% dynamic I mentioned at the beginning, where the consumer is 90% through the decision journey before they decide to reach out to a brand. And so if you're expecting to be part of the outreach in that last 10%, you need to establish trust by sharing helpful content in the first 90% of the journey. And then running along the bottom here, we have the tools to enable you to measure and optimize performance of your campaign across these 3 dimensions. So were you hitting the audience you intended? Are you shaping their perception and lifting the brand? And then have you also built trust? So starting with finding your audience, let's look at an example of a specific member for how the targeting works. So imagine you're looking to target small business owners. So here's James Gill. He lives in Dallas. He's a small business owner. And we know from his behavior on LinkedIn, he's a heavy mobile user. And furthermore, we can look at who he's connected to. He has over 500 connections, so he's well connected. He's a member of groups on LinkedIn about entrepreneurship. So we know he's deeply invested in being an entrepreneur, and he's a passionate sharer of content on LinkedIn. So he's consuming content on LinkedIn and then sharing it with his network to help them be more successful in what they're doing and help share the knowledge that he's consuming. And so these targeting parameters represent the three value propositions for our member: their identity, their network, and their knowledge. And this enables marketers to very accurately target the professionals on LinkedIn. You've got all the components of their identity, what role they're in, where they work, who they work for, and what their educational background is, for example, and many more elements of their identity. And then their network, who they're connected to, what groups they're congregating in, and then knowledge, what kinds of content they're sharing, what kinds of content they're consuming. And the good news is it's not just James Gill that you can reach, but there are 330 million members, more than that, who are targetable on LinkedIn. And so they're not all small business owners, obviously, but whoever your target is, there's an abundance of them on LinkedIn because globally, 330 million members, that represents a massive pool to target. And they're all targetable through those many attributes that cluster under identity, network, and knowledge. So I mentioned that I would share my favorite targeting case. This one comes from Cathay Pacific, the airline, and they were opening new routes from specific cities in the US to specific cities in Asia. And they wanted to build awareness for those routes. So they could have done, a one-size-fits-all campaign and just blanketed the universe of professionals, and they know that they would scoop up some of the right people, but because they were coming to LinkedIn, they could be much more targeted than that. And so they were able to target professionals who lived in the cities that were part of these targeted routes, and they were able to target professionals who had group affiliations. They joined groups that were related to conducting business in Asia. So they had a much higher propensity to be traveling to Asia for business. And as a result of the targeting they were able to apply to their campaign, they saw really tremendous results. And you can see their VP of marketing, Dennis Owen, with this quote, and that's really what drew them to LinkedIn. So they were able to generate a lot of new business for these routes with this targeted campaign. So that's the find your audience component. And the next piece is shaping their perception. So I'll dig into that now. The primary means of shaping perception historically on LinkedIn has been with display ads, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the new products that we've introduced. So you're probably all familiar with display on LinkedIn, and highlighted here with the blue dash are two different display ads. You've got the text ad in the top and then the banner in the right. And the banner in the right is from American Express. The text ad in the top is from Marketo, marketing automation software company. And what display ads enable you to do is reach at scale the professionals on LinkedIn in the LinkedIn environment in a premium placement that's in the uncluttered part of the right rail. And so you're able to very accurately target the professionals you want to reach and then drive this high quality professional audience to your website. So I'll share a case study from a small and medium-sized business, SMB here, Tech Systems. They are a technology staffing company, so they provide temporary workforce for technology companies. And therefore, they're trying to reach senior IT executives who need to make decisions about how to staff for the growth of their business. And they had a dual objective that they used our display ads for. The primary objective was building awareness because Tech Systems wasn't a household name among the buyers. But then also they needed to drive leads because they needed to show that bottom line impact from their marketing as well. So they had a targeting universe of 170,000 businesses, decision makers, and they saw a very robust click-through rate on their ads for branding ads that that drove a number of qualified meetings as a result. So again, it hinged on the ability to target the IT decision makers and then reach them with the premium ad placement. So then the third piece, establishing trust. This is about a stream of communication over time. And the example here is our company pages feature. And this is a bridge to talking about some of the new products that we've introduced in the past 12 to 18 months. So company pages aren't new. I'll talk about the new piece in a second. But I just want to highlight here, they're a great way of building trust and building that stream of communication over time, because you can build a company page, drive followers to it, and then share content with your followers in the LinkedIn feed. So the example here is from HubSpot. They do marketing automation software as well, and they are a very active user of the company page to communicate with their followership. So they have well over, the screenshot here shows 64,000 members of their followers for their company page, but at this point they have even more than that. And so that's a strong core base for them to communicate with on LinkedIn. And then we also have, if anyone has seen this movie yet, it's coming out today, so unlikely you guys have seen it, but if you don't have plans for tonight, you can go see Taken 3 with Liam Neeson. And you're sort of wondering, why am I advertising a movie in the middle of this webcast? Well, it's because in addition to company pages, we also have showcase pages if you want to highlight a specific initiative or a specific sub-brand or a specific business unit for your business. So you might have more than one more than one message that you want to communicate. That's a theme for your business, and you can build a dedicated showcase page for that. Or if you have multiple business units, same idea. And so here, Fox Studios created a showcase page for Taken 3, the new movie with Liam Neeson. And the reason Taken 3 has a home on LinkedIn is because Liam Neeson has a famous catchphrase from the movie, which some of you may know. It has to do with having a particular set of skills. And so there's a great bridge to the skills that people showcase in their profiles on LinkedIn and the specific set of skills that Liam Neeson has. So Fox has a campaign that's active now where you can register to win a video endorsement of your skills from the character that Liam Neeson plays, called Brian Mills. And so this is a great creative example in a B2C context of using the LinkedIn showcase page to highlight a specific, in this case, a specific launch of a new product, the product being Taken 3, the movie. And then those are all examples of organic content that you can share. Now I'm going to talk about a new product that we introduced in the middle of 2013, so it's about 18 months new at this point, and it's called Sponsored Updates. So this, for those who aren't familiar with Sponsored Updates, this gives you the ability to reach beyond your followers with content. And just like with company updates, Sponsored Updates are seamlessly cascaded through the feed on any device. So the same single update appears on the left, this is on a tablet. In the middle, this is on desktop or laptop. And then on the right, this is on the mobile phone. So it's a seamless delivery across all devices. And the most important aspect is you can now target your reach beyond your followers. This is especially important if your business is relatively new to LinkedIn and you don't have that many followers for your company page. Or if you don't have a company page, you can also use direct sponsored content, which is a feature of Sponsored Updates, to target directly to the members you're trying to reach. So if you don't have a large followership, you can reach beyond them to any of the 330 million professionals with Sponsored Updates. So here's an example from Adobe case study where they were one of the pilot customers for Sponsored Updates, and they had an objective of building and shaping perception of the Adobe brand as a leader in digital marketing. So most people historically know of Adobe for their creative products. So they do all of the Adobe Creative Suite, like Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, and they had great credentials there, but the problem is that market isn't all that big at the end of the day. And so the market for digital marketing is much, much bigger. Adobe made a number of acquisitions, made a number of strategic bets to expand their footprint and become a leader in solutions for digital marketers. The problem was their awareness of the awareness they had of being able to offer those solutions wasn't where they wanted it to be. And so they used sponsored updates to share thought leadership that positioned them as a leader in digital marketing and helped shape people's perceptions of Adobe, that it was much more than just the creative suite that they were offering. And they use sponsored updates because it's a great way to be helpful and to help the target customer achieve whatever their objective is by sharing thought leadership and doing so in order to shape perception of a brand. So we did a brand perception study for them after the campaign and found that people who were exposed to the campaign on LinkedIn were 50% more likely to agree that Adobe is shaping the future of digital marketing than people who were not exposed. And then 79% more likely to agree that Adobe can help them optimize their media spend, which is something Adobe offers not many people knew about. So if you guys have done brand studies for your brands before, you know that these numbers are really big. And so this is a really meaningful lift in brand perception that Adobe was able to drive. So now I'm going to talk about, that was the branding side of the equation. I'm going to talk now about the lead gen side. So if you have a lead gen objective, this next section is for you. And if you have both branding and lead gen, then you'll also want to really tune in here. So similarly, we found that there are 3 best practices of generating leads on LinkedIn. Again, it starts with finding your audience and being accurate. Then you're establishing trust so that you can ultimately convert someone to a lead. And LinkedIn enables you to be really personal. So we have a solution called Sponsored InMail that allows you to personalize the message and get into the LinkedIn inbox as opposed to the standard inbox. I'll tell you guys more about InMail in just a second. And then the Spotlight ad is another solution we offer that enables you to be personal and address a message directly to a member by name. So I'll start with explaining a little bit more about Sponsored InMail and how that enables you to be personal. Because we've already, just backing up for 2 seconds, we've already covered the find your audience components and the establish trust components earlier in the branding section. So I'm going to talk about the side of being personal, and then I'll share a couple of case studies, one on Sponsored InMail and then one where one of our SMB customers put a number of products together to create an integrated campaign that delivered results. So here's an example of Sponsored InMail, enabling you to be personalized and reach the member's inbox on LinkedIn, which is different from their inbox in their email. So whenever they log into LinkedIn, they see the LinkedIn inbox and the message, the Sponsored InMail message is in that inbox. And so the benefit for the marketer is that it ensures standout, because we have a prohibition on a Sponsored InMail reaching the same member more often than once every 60 days. And that's, you get the exclusive access to their inbox, so the message really stands out. And this is a big difference between the inbox on LinkedIn and the standard inbox in people's normal emails. And then there's a customizable response button, so you can, whatever your call to action is, whatever your lead gen objective is, you can customize that yellow response button, and then include some information here on the bottom. The example is from Box, and you have information about their business and a call to action to follow them. And then that real estate on the right-hand side can be, whatever you want it to be. So highly custom, very personalized, and it really stands out because of the exclusivity that you get. So the case study I have to share here is from Hearsay Social. This is a social media consultancy and social media software company. And the goal they had was to make sure that they're able to get meetings with the right decision makers at their target customers. So, they wanted to get to the senior decision makers who were the budget holders. And they could use sponsored updates to drive those leads really efficiently. You see from the performance, 29% open rate and 23% click-through rate. This is well above the norm for a standard marketing email that would go into the normal inbox. And so you see here the advantage of having that exclusivity and having being in the LinkedIn inbox as opposed to the personal inbox in someone's normal email. And the quote here from their director of demand gen talks about the scale that they were able to achieve, but still having that really precise targeting. So for lead gen, there's an opportunity to maximize the reach across LinkedIn, combining the different products together. So reaching the inbox on LinkedIn with InMail, reaching across the desktop pages with display, and then being in the feed on all devices with sponsored updates. So this is an example from Adobe using all three together. InMail at the top in the upper right, display here in the middle right, and then the sponsored update in the bottom left. And another example, this one from a small SMB-sized company, BI Worldwide. They had the awareness objective, but they also wanted to drive leads, so dual objectives. And they used display, InMail, and sponsored updates. And so a combination of these three solutions was very powerful because they got a huge percentage of their new leads coming from display, but then also sponsored updates were giving them a nice boost as well. And then InMail drove a ton of leads for them. And they were able to generate much higher quality leads from LinkedIn than any other channel because of the accurate targeting they could do. Make sure that they're, as you see the quote here from their VP of marketing, specifically targeting the people who matter. So that's the lead gen story. And then I also wanted to share some new developments in 2014 that are setting the stage for a really exciting 2015 for LinkedIn. We acquired a company called Bizzo in August of 2014, and they're a leader in marketing to professionals. They had a vast audience network and retargeting capabilities, multi-channel nurturing capabilities. And together, our vision is to be the most effective platform for marketers to reach their audiences, to nurture prospects, and finally to acquire customers. And so combining the content and campaigns that LinkedIn enables marketers to share with the B2B retargeting and nurturing solutions that Bizzo has, that's what's going to enable us to help drive this vision and benefit marketers. So look for more on this topic and more from the combination of LinkedIn and Bizzo in 2015. So I'm giving you guys a little sneak peek here and a little teaser of what's to come. And then finally, I want to wrap up today talking about what my team is doing to respond to this consumer evolution where the consumer has more power than ever, and more power on their phone that's in their pocket, and they're carrying it everywhere, and how we're using LinkedIn to respond. So I'll start by talking about the intersection between social media and content marketing. So overall, we've made a big push into content marketing, and our blog is really at the center. And the reason we made a big push into content marketing and the reason that the blog is at the center is because we're looking to be helpful to our audience of marketers, and that audience includes you all. And so that's, for us, at the end of the day, what we know we need to do to succeed and what we know our audience is expecting from us. So we want to be sharing content that helps marketers do their jobs better. And our blog is a great showcase for that content. And we use the blog as content that we then publish through sponsored updates. We use the blog as content that we drive to from our social media presence, and content that we drive elsewhere in our online presence from the blog. And then when we have events, or we're participating in events, or we're attending events, then we use the blog to summarize and encapsulate the content from the event so that people who weren't there can benefit from the knowledge that was gained at the event. So for us, the blogs, how we've succeeded with our blog is through these three pillars of relevance, variety, and frequency. So it's got to be helpful, and because it's being helpful, then it's definitely going to be relevant. And so we always ask ourselves, what's in it for the marketer for any post that we publish to our blog? Variety is really important. So I'm going to talk more about this on the next slide, but you see just a teaser here. You see on the bottom right a blog post that says the blogging food groups. And this is a framework we use to ensure that our blog gives its audience a steady diet and a balanced diet of the relevant content that's going to help them achieve their objectives. And then frequency, in 2013, we posted on average 3 times a week, and we've upped that cadence to 5 times a week in 2014. And then 2015, we're actually looking to go 6 times a week. And for those of you who haven't experimented with it, there's actually a lot of value posting on a Saturday, because as we know, more and more professionals never truly disconnect from their devices. They never truly disconnect, therefore, from the mindset that they're in when they're working. And so the weekend's actually a great time where there's relatively little noise in the marketplace, and you can get your content in front of the professionals then. They actually do consume it on the weekend. So we're trying to post more Saturday content. So the blogging food groups, this is the post I was referencing that ensures we're giving a balanced diet of content. So I'll quickly run you guys through this framework because we found it to be really helpful, and I hope you will too. So there's spinach content, there's roasts, there's raisin bran, Tabasco, and chocolate cake. So there's 5 different types of content, and you notice there's 6 days here. So in this particular week, let's say this is a week, we would run 2 types of spinach, but it's not like that's a hard rule. You have to have 2 types of spinach every week. You can play with the ratio, and especially play with it given your specific audience. And for us, this is just sort of a snapshot 1 week in time, but it's a good illustration of the 5 different food groups. So a spinach post is something that has a lot of helpful content, a lot of healthful content, and it may not be the most lightweight content. It may not be necessarily the most fun content. Sorry for those big spinach fans out there. I actually really like spinach, but it's not my favorite thing to eat, right, compared to chocolate cake. So spinach content can be really helpful, and it's good for you, but it's not necessarily the most fun kind of content. But it's also really important to have the spinach content. Then a roast, that's like the definitive post on a subject. So you're going to take this one out of the oven. It's really appetizing, and it's huge. It could feed a whole family. So this is a post that has a real depth of insight and could be as long as 1,000 words, could be 2,500 words even. HubSpot is a great partner of ours that does a lot of roast content, and they have some really, really in-depth posts that are great for the marketing practitioner. So that's an example of a roast. Then the raisin bran content, another example here. This is helpful, but a little bit sweeter, so it's kind of a balance. And then Tabasco, this is a provocative post that takes a spicy angle on a subject. So this will get people really chatting in the blogosphere and on Twitter. And then chocolate cake is just good fun. So you want to surprise and delight your audience, and not everything has to be serious. So it's good to have fun, and that's something we try and do quite a bit with our blog. So one thing we do, for example, as a chocolate cake post is we ask both internally, and now we started doing it externally, we ask people for one thing that's not on their LinkedIn profile. And you'd be amazed the kind of responses you get, right? Because we all know people, especially here at LinkedIn in the workplace, and then our partners and our customers, we know them in the professional context. And so you know what's on their profile, you know how they're presenting themselves as professionals, but you don't often know the things that they do in their spare time or the things they did before they got onto the career track they're on. And there's some incredible examples of some truly fascinating things that are not on people's LinkedIn profiles. And so we've actually done a video series with a number of different videos where we've gone to events and we've asked people this question, marketing leaders like Ann Handley, and our blog has the output of that where they've answered our question and we've rolled it into a highlight reel. So good thing to check out if you want to laugh. A nice piece of chocolate cake. And then beyond our blog, what we've made a big investment in is big rock content. So I'll explain what I mean by big rock. This is a big definitive piece of content that is going to make a big splash in the market, just like tipping a rock over the edge into a pond would create a big splash. And the other thing about big rocks is that you can break them into smaller rocks. So you don't just have the one shot of your big rock, but you can actually create a bunch of pebbles and have an even broader impact because you're carving up the big rock into little bite-sized pieces. I'll explain more what I mean about that in just a second. So here the example is our biggest rock from 2014, the Sophisticated Marketer's Guide to LinkedIn. We're going to be updating this every year because our platform is evolving. And this is the definitive guide to marketing on LinkedIn. It's sophisticated both as a reference to the Mad Men era. So you see from the design, it's got that sort of Mad Men feel to it, but also sophisticated because on LinkedIn, you're marketing to professionals, and that's different from marketing to people in the more personal social network context. So that's what we mean also by sophisticated. So if you haven't seen the Sophisticated Guide and you want to know even more about marketing on LinkedIn, it's available on our website. It's a good resource. And it was our biggest rock in 2014, meaning it was the piece of content that for us drove the most engagement because we had this big topic that we knew a lot of people wanted to know more about, and we could be helpful to our audience to help them be more sophisticated marketers on LinkedIn. And let me just jump down here. Yeah. So with this Sophisticated Guide, the other piece of the puzzle that I wanted to mention is how we break it up. So what we do with the Sophisticated Guide is we'll do an infographic or three, and any other big rock, we take the same approach. We'll break it into an infographic. We'll do a webinar about it. We'll carve it into bite-sized pieces to post a little blog post about it. And so with a big rock, you can get tons and tons of mileage by carving it into little bite-sized pieces for people to consume in a snackable way, so they don't need to necessarily take down this whole big rock in one go. I mentioned showcase pages before with the example of Taken 3 from Liam Neeson. This is our key content hub for LinkedIn Marketing Solutions. So LinkedIn overall has a company page, and then LinkedIn Marketing Solutions, the business unit, has a showcase page. And so we're using this showcase page with now it's over 20,000 followers, and we're using this showcase page to inspire the followers who are the marketers interested in LinkedIn Marketing Solutions. And then we can also do sponsored updates from our showcase page. So we can reach marketers who aren't followers. And speaking of sponsored updates, this solution has been a really powerful lead driver, source of leads for us, a driver of leads. And the power comes from the reach, right? So and the targeted reach. So you can target, in our case, marketers who aren't necessarily our followers, but we're looking to connect with them and share our helpful content with them. So this piece of content that we sponsored, 15 ways to become a LinkedIn power user, and it's content that Find and Convert, another blog and website, had published. So we're sharing helpful content about being a power user on LinkedIn with our audience, and oftentimes we'll post content that's in a similar vein, being helpful, and then if we have an event coming up, we might post and about registering for the event, driving leads that way. If we have a new Big Rock piece of content, we would share that through sponsored updates as well. And so the reach that we get from this is, really powerful. And we also are using InMails for the personalization and the exclusive reach in the inbox. So we're using the whole suite of solutions, including InMail. Here's an example of two different InMails we used that show the different targeting you can do. So they were both to introduce sponsored updates back when that launched in 2013. The one on the left was targeted in North America, so we were using Adobe as our lead case study. And then in the one on the right, this was targeting marketers in the UK. And so we were able to segment by the geography and have a different InMail message to those in the UK using a local case study from Sure Distribution. So with everything, and in particular with InMail in this example, we're able to target and segment our audience. And so we're getting a lot of value from that. So for us, it really boils down to these three keys of success that I shared at the beginning: being accurate, being helpful, and being everywhere. So being accurate, being confident that you're reaching the people that you want to reach and that they are who they say they are. Being helpful, sharing helpful content that helps your audience achieve whatever their objective is. And that objective could be a B2B objective or even a B2C objective. And then being everywhere, not just being in the geographies where your audience is, but being in the moments where they're engaging and on the platforms where they're engaging. So desktop and laptop, phone and tablet. So these have been the keys to success for us, and that's boiling it down what we think it takes to be successful in 2015. So with that, we've got time for questions, and I would be happy to answer some of them. So I know you guys have been submitting in the Webcast tool here. So I'll just take a look through and start answering questions for the remaining time that we have. And so for those of you who need to drop, thanks for joining. Thanks so much for sharing the start of the year with us. And I wish you all the success for 2015. For those who are sticking around, we'll answer some questions now. Okay. Okay. All right, guys, I'm just looking through the questions here, and I'll start answering them in just a second. All right, so there's a question about the more than 330 million members and how to connect with them. So if you're an individual looking to connect, then you can leverage your network to connect to people that they're connected to. So you don't have to know people to connect with them. You can ask a friend for an intro. Now, in the marketing context, the marketing solutions enable you to target much more than the audience that's following your company, for example. So in the use case of marketing, the people you're connected to as a business and as a brand on LinkedIn are your company followers. And if you're looking to reach beyond your company followers, then you can use the other marketing solutions I mentioned to go beyond that followership and reach the other 330 million members. And there's also a related question about only having a small number of followers today, and how can you reach out to get more followers? And so there's a few tried and true means of doing this, and I'll share some of them here. And then we have a company pages guide that we've published, and you can find it on our blog. So there's more information there about how to build your followership. But the first thing to do is to leverage your employee network. So your employees are well connected on LinkedIn, many of them, not all of them, but on average, there should be a robust level of connection on LinkedIn. And so your employees have their network, and then they can invite people in their network just by posting an update on LinkedIn from their profile to say, please follow our company, and this is why you should do it. And certainly not everyone they're connected to is going to be in the sweet spot of your target, but that's a great way to get some a boost in your organic followers. And then there's also the other organic means of acquiring more followers is to publish helpful content. That content gets shared on LinkedIn, and then people are exposed to it. They can link back to your company page and follow if they see content you're sharing from your company page that's helpful to them. So just it's sort of a if you post it, they will come kind of thing. And then the way to really power your followership is to use follow company ads. So there's a specific ad unit as part of our display solution that drives people to follow your company. So that's a paid way of building your follower base. Yeah, there was a question about, and this came from Twitter, customers are 90% through the buying cycle before contacting a vendor. And this data point came from Forrester Research. So they had done a research study to understand the new buying dynamic in the digital era, especially in the mobile era. And that's the data point that study yielded. 90% on average, B2B buyers are 90% through their buying journey before they reach out to a brand. And the dynamics are similar on B2C, though not quite as pronounced as 90%. And the Forrester research was B2B specific. The question about the showcase pages, is there a price associated with the showcase page? No, showcase pages are free. So company pages are free. You can set one up right after this call, and there's no cost. And you can publish content to your followers, publish content on your showcase page or your company page for free at no cost. And then if you want to expand the reach of those posts that you've published, you can use sponsored updates to do that, and those do cost, and it's an auction-based product, so you have to bid in the auction to reach the target that you want. So there is a cost for that, but there's, like I said, showcase pages, company pages, free, and then organic posting from company pages and showcase pages, also free. The question about the mobile tablet usage stats. So for those who joined later in the call, there was a slide earlier about, which I think I can pull up here in the screen. Let's see. No, not that. Yeah. So if you're still connected to the WebEx presentation, you should be able to see your computer. You should be able to see my screen here with this chart, and this is what the question's referring to. So this chart shows actual LinkedIn data. So the reason we have this data is because we are LinkedIn. So we have this data, and it's something that we've decided to make public. And that data is not available to, the other part of the question was, is this data available to company page administrators? And the answer is no, that's not part of what's available to company page administrators, but there is a robust set of data and analytics that are available to company page administrators. This is just a macro trend that we've published using our data. Another question about showcase pages. This one is, are they linked to your company page? And the answer is yes. So it's a parent-child relationship, if you want to think of it that way. So the company page is the parent, and then the showcase pages, if they're multiples, they're the children. And so I don't know if you can see it on let me try and go to that showcase page slide with Taken, the movie. I think it's further up here. Let me see if it's on here, but that parent-child relationship is made transparent on the showcase page and on the company page. So you can see all right, well, I can't navigate back to that slide for some reason. So let me just go back here. Sorry, I was trying to find the slide with the showcase page. But to cut a long story short, Yes, showcase pages are linked to the company page, and that linkage is represented visually on both the showcase pages and the company page. And I guess another part of that question that was implied is, do you need to then work with your company page administrator to set up a showcase page? And the answer is yes. So the company page administrators, there could be one, there could be multiple, and they're the ones who govern the access to building showcase pages. So if you're working at a slightly larger company and you might have multiple administrators, then you can talk to one of them about getting a showcase page. There was a question about and I don't know what the specific reference was, but is something agency friendly, like if I wanted to use this for multiple clients? And the answer is absolutely. So without knowing exactly what that was referring to, the solutions here are all agency friendly in that they work for agencies that have multiple clients, and you can set multiple clients up on any of these solutions. So we work very closely with agencies, big and small, all the time. Okay, just looking for a couple more questions here. Question about the frequency of updating company updates or sponsored updates, and how frequently should they be posted. So a good rule of thumb is if you have enough to say, if you have enough helpful content to share, posting at least once a day from your company page is a good idea. And then what you can do is you can sponsor the content that's performing the best. So you can see what's resonating by looking at the analytics for each post that you're posting organically for free. And then you can take the ones that are really setting the world on fire and put more fuel to that fire by sponsoring them. And so you can post up to there's no practical limit to how many company updates you can send. Posting 10 times a day would definitely be excessive. There are bigger companies on LinkedIn, customers of ours, that are posting multiple times a day, and what they might be doing also is targeting their posts so that not every follower sees the same post, right? So you do have the ability to for free split out the targeting of your company updates, and so that's another way you can be even more relevant and even more helpful to your audience if you have a segmentation and you know that certain pocket of your audience is more interested in topic A and others are more interested in topic B. So boiling that answer down, the frequency for company updates, you can definitely do one a day or even more than one a day. And then for sponsoring, you can have a sponsored update campaign running over the course of so it's advisable to have a sponsored update campaign running over the course of several weeks so you make sure you get all of the reach. But having just probably 2 or 3 campaigns running at any one time is a good best practice. And the way you can determine which content you want to sponsor, you can do that in part by looking at your trends from company updates, which are performing the best. Okay, let's see if we have some other questions here. There's another question about sponsored updates while we're on that topic. How is it different than a post? So it's the same as a post with 2 key exceptions. One, the organic company page update, which we're calling here also a post. So the organic post is only reaching your followers, and sponsored updates, you're paying to sponsor it so that it reaches beyond your followers. So that's the first key difference. The other key difference is that because it's a sponsored update and it's appearing in the feeds of our members, it designates that it is sponsored. So there's a word that appears on the update that clearly notes that it is sponsored. So it just says sponsored on it. And that's the other key difference. Otherwise, it's the same, meaning it can look the same, the content can be the same, So it's really just the reach that you're getting, and then the fact that we're designating it as sponsored. Question here, not exactly sure which topic it was referring to specifically, but a question about, does something apply to a local market as well and not just globally? And so, yes, all of the solutions I mentioned here are available globally. And we have, I think, 17 languages that are supported on LinkedIn. So a lot of the languages that you might be using globally are supported as well. And so we have a global membership, and we're a global platform. So the marketing solutions we develop are global and not just here for North America. And they're also not just global, meaning one size fits all, but they're you can target your reach to whatever location you want. And then, like I said, we have the 17, I believe it's 17 languages that we support. Okay. Let me see if there are any other questions here that are good for that. Oh, okay. So there's a question that's about pricing, and so just in general, the pricing varies depending on the product and depending on who you're targeting. So if you're interested in finding out more, you can follow or go to our website, and there's a contact us form, and you can ask the question there. And then we have a number of self-serve products. So if you go to LinkedIn ads and Google LinkedIn ads, it'll take you to our self-serve site, and there's pricing listed out there. And you can also get there from your LinkedIn.com homepage in the top part of the nav. So that's another option as well. So thank you, guys. We are out of time, but this is a great kickoff for the new year for me. Loved being with you on the webcast today. Really excited to hopefully have helped you succeed in 2015, and can't wait for the rest of the year. Thanks again.